What's your experience of actually implementing these devices? Because I understand in the projects that you two have been involved in so far in this collaboration between the two of you and the groups that you lead, there have been projects and you have worked with the actual systems. So can you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Sure. I might just start with that. But before we talk about technologies, I also have to highlight the importance of international collaboration, which our sitting here is a good example of it.
Exactly.
This is such a complex, difficult research area, as a matter of fact. I think combining a bit of gray matter internationally is so important because none of us have individually the answers. Some individuals might think that they have a huge input, but in reality, it has to be a very collaborative work area, and international collaboration is very important because the challenges are so great. If you want to overcome, it's very important. So I have this sort of privileged position of being both an academic and a budding business person.
Exactly.
Basically falling down all the time and making all sorts of mistakes. So I can't say that I'm very good at what I do, but certainly the process of doing that and understanding the commercial challenges as well as some of the scientific aspects, it's really, really beneficial. And I think I have a fairly good understanding of all the small little things which can go wrong and make one technology basically viable or non-viable in a farm environment. So
if I could just interject one thing.
For sure.
You've been using that word viable, and I'm not sure if this is clear for people. Can we go for something slightly more common words?
Sure. So I will give you a couple of. That's what that was just an introduction to a couple of examples, and I think what I would try to highlight the problems, not so much. I'm not promoting anything here. I'm highlighting the problems. So when we started working on weight monitoring using image analysis way back. The work actually been started in Silso back in the late 90s, basically. Long time ago, obviously.
And the Silso, is that a place?
A Silso Research Institute, which is well known in our area of work, which was the premier agriculture engineering research institute in the UK, in Bedfordshire.
Right.
Not far away from the Luton airport. So I made my pilgrimage, a number of times there and had very good relationship with late Christopher Wattis, who was the director of that institute at that time. So they started playing with that idea of taking picture of pigs and predicting weight. And we, 35 years later, we're still not widely using these technologies because, for example, when I started my work back in around 2002, after years of work, development work, developing algorithms, because it's obviously not as easy as you can appreciate, taking picture of animals, measuring a certain dimension and predicting weight. We put the camera in practice and figured out very quickly that flies just love gathering around the lenses because it was a warm environment for them in wintertime.
Makes sense.
And they put on the lenses, rendering the very fancy technology pretty much useless within a couple of weeks.
My goodness.
So we had to completely redesign the equipment to ensure that there are no heat sources around the lens. And had to come up with some innovative ways of protecting the lens. So these little things, it's amazing, unforeseeable. You can't predict that in advance until you sort of try it. These things make technologies viable or non-viable.
I see.
So,
right.
This is a fantastic idea, and obviously, since then we actually developed the equipment. We now have a couple of commercial installation as well, working quite well. But you have to overcome these things, and when you are a startup company sort of person, these are incredible knockbacks because kind of a live smile at you and give you a smack from a direction you wouldn't expect that to come. So,
Exactly. Wow.
so these kind of we also developed a complex environmental monitoring gear. Again, very good. It was a good outcome because my original research background was in air quality research in livestock building. So we did a lot of scientific studies, the impact of ammonia, dust, etc. on animals, and used a lot of fancy separate instrumentation and end of number of years of working in that area. I thought it's all very good for us scientists to be able to measure that. How the poor farmers will be able to measure that because they don't have these technologies. So we basically put together the scientific instrumentation in a package, literally, put everything in one box. So it's a relatively and Sebastian, you've been using that equipment and relatively, but again,
a portable device.
It is a portable device. But again, and Sebastian, we will talk about that during our talk. There are still problems. There are internet outages, there are all sorts of problems, which is a lot of times outside of or cows chewing on certain cables and
eating sensors.
So it's a really fascinating, challenging. You don't get bored. So it's a research area where you certainly don't get bored.
You make it sound like it's a big adventure, actually.
It is. If you have a good sense of humor, because sometimes you want to kill either someone or yourself because it's very challenging, but no, it is good fun. So,
but it's also important that we are looking also for relatively cheap equipment. We don't want to go for, very sophisticated devices that will be very expensive because no one will buy it. I mean, on the level of research, we can of course test it as a new technology, but then when you want to go to farmer and just leave the equipment for, I don't know, 50K at the farm, this is not possible because no one will be responsible for that, and the farmers he will not look at it, and then you are afraid that you will lose it, like cow will eat it or whatever. And all the tricky piggies are really like looking for everything.
Are they curious animals?
Yeah, very curious.
Pigs are destructive. Yeah. Well, let's put it that way. So it's probably the most destructive animal, isn't it?
So that's also another target, that you have to do it simple and achievable for most of the farmers, which means that probably the precision will not be so high, and then that's another issue. So you have to work harder to get it to be this win-win situation that you have a cheap stuff but also precise one. So the challenges are really high, and then you have to. I hope we will manage someday that it will be really well developed and technology everywhere, like with the mobiles. Yeah, I mean, this is good example of the phones that we within one life actually we could see development of the mobiles. Yeah.